And welcome back. Modern cars, they do really suck in design and in performance and in quality of built and engineering. Least and not least on the list of cars what suck is their engines. EcoBoost, Puratech, which is a type of engine which they use on all the range of the brands of the Stellantis group. It's a 3-cylinder engine. Its distribution belt is in rubber. It's not on external of the engine like the cars which you have today, or 10 years ago, 15 years ago. No, it's inside the engine, and when it's inside the engine, that means it's soaked in engine oil. And as maintenance, you're going to have to take half the engine apart to get to the belt. And obviously, I think around about 350 owners of these vehicles which have this type of engine, practically brand new, after a few miles, after a few hundred miles, the whole damn thing explodes. Because due to the infiltration of the petrol with the engine oil, and obviously the combustion gases and the carbon deposit on the very parts of the engine, cylinders and stuff like that, literally exploded. If you take one of these engines apart, was it the distribution belt, which is in rubber, of made to resist in this type of so-called operation environment, don't even last for 5 minutes. And you know, the Stellantis themselves weren't that, you know, helpful to help these people resolve their problems. They said it was a technical problem. Instead of using the so-called rubber belt, they used a timing chain, which didn't resolve the problem at all. All the same problems which the owners of these vehicles had. And really, they were probably saying, oh, we would change the engine. Not so. Recognise the defect in warranty. The defect itself is when it was built, engineered, and the quality of the materials used, because they tend to use materials which are not, you should say, adaptable for that type of working environment for various parts of the engine. Because in the end, it breaks and it won't last that long. And always a tactic, they want to push people from petrol and diesel engines to electric vehicles. It may seem the scene, probably the way, but electric vehicles, as I mentioned on my channel here, they are absolute junk on 4 wheels. That was another story. And there were people saying, oh, it costs less to produce a 3-cylinder engine. It wears out a lot more faster than a traditional 4-cylinder engine. Fair enough, 3-cylinder engines, the Japanese have been using on their small cars. You can't put them on big cars like SUVs, which obviously requires more power, as horsepower, and practically these 3-cylinder engines, where it's Puratech or EcoBoost, cannot generate enough horsepower to just drive the damn vehicle due to its pace and weight and size. These small engines are only adapted for city cars. And then the story. And obviously, the last and not least, I think the new Lancia Ypsilon, which looks like a Peugeot or some type, has this type of engine. It's a 3-cylinder engine, but with a turbo. Imagine sticking a turbo on a Puratech engine, what damage you'll do. You'll be going now and then to the garage, carrying out very expensive mechanical repairs, and it's very tricky to take apart, and it's not easy to have access when you have to service. This is a problem, and these are one of the things which they probably manufacturers why they do it, because you're obliged to take it to a garage of the dealership, which they have all the gear to the mechanic workshop to work on. And obviously a mechanic, how much he gets an hour is a lot more than your independent mechanic from up the road, which does you a good job and works with good materials. It's all a gimmick from the car makers to make you spend money on parts and after services, which they're going to be expensive, especially when you start coming to an electric car. There you're going to start spending. Don't think it'll cost you less to run or maintain than a normal petrol and diesel car. And the manufacturers of these vehicles must realise they must produce products which the market asks, what the punters want. Returning back to the good old days, not these electrical junks which people don't want to buy, it's so expensive, and then after they come cry for money and making mandates and make people buy this shit. One thing you should know, these engines are not produced in Europe, Puratech especially, they're made in China. I'm not saying Chinese rubbish, the Chinese stuff is rubbish, but you've got to show when you're trying to cut in corners and costs of building a vehicle, its safety and its quality and reliability and durability in the time. You won't have a product that will last a lot more longer than it was designed and engineered to. So it goes to think, in these so-called Stellantis cars, they use Chinese engines from Dongfeng.